I've had quite a career in the martial arts, 47 years. I don't know whether that makes you good or just old, but we've been around and been fortunate enough to see martial arts go through many phases over the years. Everything from judo in the 50s to taekwondo's rise in the 60s to kung fu, where we owned it in the 70s, to I think ninjutsu in '80 and Taibo in the '90s, and now all the grappling and all those things that are happening in 2000. Martial arts keeps growing, keeps turning. Again, we've been fortunate enough to be included in the first 5 Americans to ever go into mainland China in the Beijing and Nanjing in the early '80s, '81, '82, and get a chance to see the Jet Lis before they became superstars. Story from a movie or something, but I had a school over in the inner city in 5th and Kennedy Street in D.C. Little rough neighborhood at that time. We didn't think so. It's where we lived. But I remember him showing up at my door, literally like something from a movie, saying that I want to study with you. I've been training in martial arts, and he was working out at the McKim studio, I think, at that time. But he was more he had gone to the Junior Olympics for gymnastics, as I remember. So I know he had a lot of skills in terms of physical technique, and he had studied some karate styles. So I knew he had some discipline from that. But for some kind of way, he had seen me in a magazine or a movie or something, and decided, I want to come over to D.C. and I'm going to study with you. But when I showed up for my school, he was literally there at the front door waiting. Didn't know he wasn't from D.C. Didn't know that he was a young kid, because he was still a young teenager. But how did I know that he had thumbed his way all the way from Baltimore? That's hitchhiked his way all the way from Baltimore to take classes. And we brought him in. Didn't have a whole lot of money and that kind of thing, but what he had was a will to be really amazing. So we got to talking to him and found out that he was working out at McKim's at that time. Never been to that studio, but we kind of took him in, and over the years, it was crazy, because I remember the guy would either, when he had some money, he would catch the Greyhound bus over, or the Trailway bus. When he didn't have money, he'd get there a little bit later and find out that he had hitchhiked his way over. And sometimes at night he'd get back to Baltimore. We don't know how, because again, he didn't have a whole lot of money, but he'd get back and forward. And for a while, I got to the point where I knew this kid really wanted to learn, and I would take him all the way back to Baltimore. And to this day, I think he still owes me ticket money for for the Trailway or something. But he had learned something when he got to us that wasn't necessarily from the martial arts schools, but I think from the center. He was a very competitive young man, and he was a very aggressive young man, in the sense that he wanted to get ahead. He knew that he was living in the projects areas over there in Baltimore. That center for him it seemed to represent a way out. It gave him some place to go after school, to keep him off the streets. And that's the way I interpreted it. I identified with it because I had grown up in Northeast D.C., single mom, 3 sons, whole things, really struggling. Mother was a domestic worker, and so she did the best she could to raise us. So when he told me where the background he was from, I kind of identified with that and said, you know, uh, I kind of see it. So he started telling me about, this Mr. Warren over there at McKim Center. I immediately realized, well, we've got somebody here who's already got a good foundation, because he's got a mentor who he will listen to, and who has got him started on his way. And so we just kind of picked up on that and said, okay, let's take you into the martial arts side of it. And again, it's a long story of how he got from there to, national champion. But it was really about just coming over and training really hard and working hard. I took him to China in, I don't know, 80, 83, 85, something like that. And it just changed his whole view, as it had mine when I went in '82. It changes your view of what martial arts can be, because you saw what they were doing with it. It wasn't just about competition. It was about making the masses of people stronger and healthier. They taught it in all the schools to teach the young kids focus and discipline. And we seemed to be, all we were worried about was winning trophies and breaking boards, and they had taken it to a whole nother level. Again, it was the masses of people early in the morning that you would see training, and I think he got a chance to see that, came back with a whole new view of where he could go with martial arts.